Hi children, welcome back to online class. I am Benila, your English teacher for grade 11. Let me start the portion according to the state board syllabus. So, take your English textbook. This book is framed for the development of your student for the 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading and writing. You have 6 units. Each unit contains prose, poem and supplementary reader. Right? First unit, prose, the portrait of a lady. Poem, once upon a time. Supplementary reader, after 20 years. The second unit, prose, the Queen of Boxing. Poem, Confessions of a Born Spectator. Supplementary reader, A Shot in the Dark. And the third unit, prose, Forgetting. Poem, Lines written in early spring. Supplementary reader, The First Patient. And unit 4, prose, Tight Corners. Poem, Macavity the Mystery Cat. Supplementary reader, With the Photographer. Unit 5, prose, The Convocation Address. Poem, Everest is not the only peak. Supplementary, The Singing Lesson. And unit 6, prose, The Accidental Tourist. Poem, The Hollow Crown. Supplementary reader, They Never Nest. Okay, so this is the portion you have for the grade 11, right? Okay, let me start the portion from the unit 1, Prose-1, The Portrait of a Lady, written by Lady-khushwant Singh. What do you mean by nuclear family or joint family? So are you living in a nuclear family or a joint family? What is meant by nuclear family? Father, mother and their children, right? Joint family means father, mother and their children and grandparents, right? So this will be called as a joint family. Okay, what are the things you know the difference between nuclear family and joint family? Nuclear family will be small and it will be more happy. Special care will be there and it will be joyful and we will get good education. Like this, many reasons are there advantage, right? Joint family, it will be congested, compete for needs, less privacy, less riches. You have to wait for the turn. These all the things are there in the joint family. Okay, so there is a advantage also is there, disadvantage also is there in both the nuclear family and joint family, right? Okay, now you can take a textbook and read the heading louder. What is the heading? The Portrait of a Lady, written by Lady-khushwant Singh. Okay, practice reading and then move on to the page number 1. Based on the visuals given above, give 5 words or phrases each to describe these 2 family types, nuclear family and joint family. You can write your own opinions, right? Fill that column and then move on to the lesson. First, let us see about the author. Lady-khushwant Singh is an Indian novelist and lawyer. He studied at St. Stephen's College, Delhi and King's College, London. He joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1947. As a writer, he is best known for his keen secularism, sarcasm and love for poetry. He served as the editor of several literary and news magazines as well as 2 newspapers. Lady-khushwant Singh was awarded with Padma Bhushan in 1974, Padma Vibhushan by the Government of India and Sahitya Akademi Fellowship by Sahitya Akademi of India The Mark of Vishnu, A History of Sikhs, The Train of Pakistan, Success Mantra, We Indians and Death at My Doorstep are some of his brilliant works. Now let us see about the writer Khushwant Singh. Khushwant Singh was born in the year 1915 on February 2nd and died in March 2014 in Delhi at the age of 99, right? And their parents' name is Sobha Singh and mother name is Veerabai, right? Okay, he is an Indian novelist and also a lawyer, and he studied his degree in the place of Delhi, that is in the King's College in London, and he joined in the IFS. IFS means Indian Foreign Service, right? In 1947, he joined there. And he is, as a writer, he is best known for secularism and sarcasm. Sarcasm means mocking, okay? And he has a great love for the poetry also. And he has been as a editor for the newspapers. And Khushwant Singh was awarded Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan by the Government of India. And Sahitya Academy also, they have given the award for him. And his works are Mark of Vishnu, that is about the snake and superstitious beliefs. He has said, right? And History of Sikhs also he has said. And The Train of Pakistan, that has become as a film in 1941 it became. And Success Mantra and We Indians and Death at My Doorsteps are his works, right? Okay. His children name Ragul and Mala, right? Okay, let us see about this lesson. Heading of the lesson, the portrait of a lady. What do you mean by the portrait? Portrait means painting or some drawing, picture or image, right? Of a lady. Who is that lady here? Khushwant Singh, grandmother only. Here we are calling as a lady, right? So what he is going to tell in this lesson is, once when he was living in the village with his grandmother, he had good experience and remembrance about the grandmother, right? So she was very kind enough and she was taking care of Khushwant Singh. So about that experience only he is telling in this lesson, right? And what is making him to change in his life? When he was living in a village life, how happy he was, and when the situation changes, what are the changes in his life also he is telling, right? You can think about your childhood days, about your grandmother, how she treated you, how affectionate she was, how was the village life. These are all the things you can remember and you can enjoy in this lesson, right? Now take your book, page number 1. Let me read the first paragraph and let me explain you, right? Here is a story that brings out the bond between the author and his loving grandmother. Okay, so this story, what it is related to? The bond between the author. Who is the author here? Khushwant Singh. And he is talking about his loving grandmother, right? So about that only this story is, right? Okay, first paragraph. My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. People said that she had once been young and pretty and had even had a husband, but that was hard to believe. My grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. He wore a big turban and loose-fitting clothes. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest, and he looked at least 100 years old. He did not look the sort of person who would have a wife or children. He looked as if he could only have lots and lots of grandchildren. As for my grandmother being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. She often told us of the games she used to play as a child. That seemed quite absurd and undignified on her part, and we treated it like the fables of the prophets she used to tell us. So the first sentence, my grandmother. My grandmother means it represents Khushwant Singh's grandmother. So he is the author of this lesson, and he is narrating himself that story, right? Okay, so his grandmother, how she looks like means like all the other old women, how they like the same way she also looks old, and her face, everything, how it means wrinkled means small lines, and because of the old age they will get no. So always how she looks, the same appearance of the old people, how it will be the same way she was there. But once in her childhood days, in her young age, she looks pretty. The other people, they was telling about her appearance, how they are, this old grandmother looks so pretty in her young age, and even she had a husband also. So in young age she had a husband, like that they used to tell. But Khushwant Singh was not able to believe that, because for many years he is looking his grandmother as a old lady without a husband. So he could not believe that much, right? He could think of his grandfather, but he was not alive. So what he is thinking, he has seen that portrait. Portrait means picture or photo of the grandfather. It was hung, where it was hung, in the mantelpiece. Mantelpiece means self protecting from the wall above a fireplace. So in the olden days, in the house, there will be a place, for separate place for keeping a fire, right? To get warm they will keep a place, so above that will be called as a mantelpiece, right? So it was there in the drawing room. He could recall his grandfather's portrait picture. So how he was looking in the picture is, he wore a very big turban. What is mean by turban? Talapakattu, right? That is called turban, right? And loose fitting cloths. So in olden days the people will be wearing a loose fitting cloths, right? So like that he was wearing in the portrait. And he was having a long white beard. Beard means thadi, right? Which it was covering till his chest. So like that, a long beard he was having. And totally his appearance, how it looks like means like 100 years old man, like that he looks like. He, when we see him, we cannot identify that he had a wife, but we can tell that he had lot of children, grandchildren he had, like that we can tell it. And his grandmother often used to tell lot of stories, right? So you might have observed from your grandparents, right? Your grandmother may say lot of stories to you, to make you to sleep. So like that he also heard lot of stories from his grandmother. So that time what she used to tell is what she played in her childhood days. These are all the things she will be explaining to the children, so that it will be looking very absurd. Absurd means illogical. We cannot even imagine that it had happened, right? So like that it will be that, and undignified. And they felt like this, all the stories about the prophets, she used to tell, which every story is like a prophet stories, like that they used to feel it, right? Let us move on to the next paragraph. She had always been short and fat and slightly bent. Her face was crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. No, we were certain she had always been as we had known her. Old, so terribly old that she could not have grown older and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. She could never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. She hobbled about the house in spotless white, with one hand resting on her waist to balance her stoop, and the other telling the beads of her rosary. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale, puckered face, and her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. Yes, she was beautiful. She was like the winter landscape in the mountains, an expanse of pure white serenity, breathing peace and contentment. Listen to this paragraph. And this paragraph says about the appearance of the grandmother. How she was? She was very short and little fat and slightly bent also because of the old age, right? And her face, how it was crisscross of wrinkles. Lot of wrinkles are there in her face. So her face looks like a crisscross of wrinkles, and because of that we can understand that she is extremely old. Than that no person can get older, like that she looks like. And now that author wanted to tell very humorously that she she stayed at the same age of 20 years. The same age for the 20 years means for the old age, she has been the same level, not older than that. Right? And she could never been much pretty, but always she has a beautiful in the way of life, that is in the spiritual way of life. She was very beauty, and because of the old age she could not walk steadily, and so how she was walking unsteadily, and there was her white dress, how it was, there was no dots at all, even a spotless white. Right? There is no any dirty in her dress. It was pure white cloths she used to wear. And to balance her stoop, that is a bend of the body, no, which cannot stand properly. The bend, okay, we will be calling as that stoop means that as a coon, you will be telling, no, like that. To balance that, she keep her hands on her waist. Then often she will be counting her rosary. What do you mean by rosary? Jabamalai, right? She'll be counting the beads of her rosary with one with the other hand, and she'll be telling the prayer, right? And her white hair, silvery white hair, is scattered. It is all over her pale face. It is all over in the wrinkled face. It is scattered there, and her lips. What often it will be telling the prayer regularly. It will be talking about the prayers, right? And how she, because of all these things, she looks very divinely beautiful lady, like that we can tell her. And he is comparing with the winter landscape in the mountain, the pure white serenity. It represents pure calm and peaceful and pleasure. By seeing her face we can identify. So this paragraph says about her appearance and her how she behaves, how her dresses, everything, how she walks, everything, it is explained here, right? Okay, we'll move on to the next paragraph. My grandmother and I were good friends. My parents left me with her when they went to live in the city, and we were constantly together. She used to wake me up in the morning and get me ready for school. She said her morning prayer in a monotonous sing-song while she bathed and dressed me in the hope that I would listen and get to know it by heart. I listened because I loved her voice, but never bothered to learn it. Then she would fetch my wooden slate, which she had already washed and plastered with yellow chalk, a tiny earthen ink pot, and a red pen. Tie them all in a bundle and hand it to me. After a breakfast of a thick, stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it, we went to school. She carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dogs. Listen, the explanation for this paragraph is, the author and his grandmother were very good friends, right? So now as they was living in a separate home, that is in a village, they was living, so they had a good relationship, right? Because their parents, what they have done, they left him with his grandmother and they shifted to the city. And this grandmother, what are the things she used to do for this boy, that is a Khushwant Singh, is usually she will wake up him in the morning and make him to get ready for the school. And she would tell her morning prayers in a boring sing-song mode while she bathed and dressed him. Thinking that what she's thinking, always she's thinking that whatever we are singing, the boy will hear and he will observe and he will learn everything by heart, like that. She's thinking, and what she's doing, always singing the song. But what this author, that is Khushwant Singh, is doing is, he listened the prayer because he loved the voice, but never bothered to learn it. He doesn't want to learn it. Usually you all will do, right? You will be hearing the song very well and you'll observe, you'll like the rhythm, but we will never by heart the words, right? So only the music we will listen, like that. He also, what he is doing, the prayer, everything he observes because her voice was very sweet. And what he will be doing means that she will be taking all the things for the school. Or what are the things is needed for the school means that wooden slate is needed, and she will be washing that clearly, and she will be tying with the yellow chalk everything, and red, that is a ink pot will be there. Okay, red pen, and all together she will bundle and she will keep it and make him ready. Okay, so now they will have the breakfast. That is, what is the breakfast they will have is a stale chapati. Stale means it is not a fresh one, not newly made. That is not a fresh chapati, stale chapati. So what it will be done means, with upon that stale chapati there will be spreading of little butter, and above that, yes, sugar will be spreaded over it. So that one only he will be taking as a breakfast, and they will be going. And also they will be carrying several stale chapatis of, for what reason? For the village dogs. She used to feed some village dogs, so she will be carrying the stale chapatis along with her, right? Okay, hope you all understood this 3 paragraph. The remaining lesson and the story I will tell you in the next video. Okay, until then, bye bye. Thank you, students.